We're not supposed to have money, man. Listen, when I was your age,
A whole lot of money.
It's just not how it's supposed to
it's
go.
not supposed to go. What do you do? What am I supposed to do? So I'm supposed to look at something that I can definitely afford and say, nah. What am I?
Nope.
Is that what I'm supposed to do?
I'm walking in, I'm taking it right off the rack.
Everybody comes after like professional athletes and stuff like that, and people that get rich who don't come from money and then get rich and then they lose their money. Like, well, they spend. It's like I understand how. And by the way, I was just like you. Whenever I was judging people who got money and would both their money, like, oh, you're an idiot. Take care of yourself. It takes a lot of discipline.
Seriously.
It takes a lot of discipline to have that type of money in your bank account and look at something that you've maybe wanted your entire life and just been like, no, I'm not gonna buy it. And you're 21, 22 years old, 23 years old. It is I had a very hard time. I had a very it took me. By the way, I don't get I get arrested there, right, for the public intoxication. The alleged story is the cop side. We have our own stories here. I did not swim in the canal. Everybody knows I have a hole in my eardrum. Correct. I would not have dove in there. Did I fall in? Maybe. Hey, maybe fell in there. But the swimming thing. But I think if it wasn't for that, my spending would have continued to be rather awesome. Yeah. I mean, I was on a run there. Escalade, day I was drafted. Not even a question, day I was drafted. We have $0 at that point when you're drafted. You have no idea. Buy an Escalade, buy a house, buy a wrestling ring. And then you just walk through a mall and you see something. You're like, I think every one of my friends should have a pair of these as well. Here we go. We should all have these.
$500 shoes, Pat. We should all wear red $500 shoes.
We did not.
Hey, they were dope though. And you guys did talk me out of it because that was the trigger that was
Same
getting.
ones for $50.
Yeah, but those ones would have been awesome. If we would walked in
slope. Tony was not talking you out of that one.
Yeah, Diggs was a terrible influence in that particular case. Hey, they are nice shoes, by the way. They are nice shoes. And I just
Same weekend you rented a cruise ship on the Allegheny River.
had to do it to have a casino. Exactly. These are things that you can't prepare for. I don't know how you learn about it. Okay, I guess you can have somebody just yell at you or whatever, and I was, on numerous occasions by certain people. Vinatieri had a lot of conversations with me about, come on. Do you need that? You could probably just have rented that. Yeah, but then, huh?
But I want
Don't get to keep it forever,
yeah.
you know? There's always that moment, and now we're getting to watch Connor do that on a little bit smaller scale, but not too much. I mean, you're having a pretty good little freedom session.
Oh, yeah, it's a great time. I got like 18 jumpsuits in the mail right now on the way.
Geez.
You have a entire barn full of bad decisions. I can only imagine the stuff that you didn't pull the trigger on. God, no, I can't do that.
Hey, good news here. Not a lot. There was not a lot. Those were enjoyable times. Then I got franchise tagged, obviously. Then the next year I got another contract. And by that point, I had been through the phase, you know. But boy, if I don't get franchise tagged or that second contract, there's a good chance I'm on that broke 2.0 dog.
Hey, that's not bad, though. What is the favorite purchase for you of all time here?
Yeah, you know, I think it's the wrestling ring, to be honest, just because there's not a lot of humans that have it. And I have a full-size wrestling ring.
Yeah.
Like, as a fan of wrestling my entire life, whenever I found out that I could buy that for a couple $1,000s, I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to get that. But then I completely forgot about buying it. Remember, I was like, it was like 2, 3 a.m. when I bought that thing. So, which, by the way, turns out a lot of those purchases potentially get made. So that thing shows up at my house on an 18-wheeler. I completely forgot that I bought it. And then when it gets there, I'm like, oh, this is one of the most hilarious things of all time. And then the size of it was just so massive. It's 18 feet by 18 feet. So I obviously had no idea how to put it together. So there was like a put together Pat's wrestling ring party that we had. Put it together, and then my barn just sitting there, a wrestling ring. I go in, it literally looked like WWF or WWE was in my house. And then we go in there, and we're like, oh, this is so much fun. All my teammates that would come over to the house are like, oh, I've always wanted to get in a ring or whatever. Then they fall, and they're like, oh, my God, that is so hard. That is impossible. I'm like, yeah, I'll never use it probably. So that thing is probably the showcase. The aquatic vehicle is another one. It was supposed to be good on land and sea, like a Navy SEAL, and it turned out it wasn't. Like, thing couldn't float, but it was. But it had like the tank. It had 8 wheels, 4 on each side.
Yeah, diesel.
Yeah, it had 4 on each side, so you had the tank controls and
Like a truck bed on the back.
And you were supposed to be able to. Yeah, there's a little flat, but it wasn't that big. It was only 8 wheels as opposed to like there's 12. By the way, there's a 12 and then there's like a 16 one. I got the little baby boy, but it had the back thing. And Tim McAfee saw it and was excited. I had a pond at the time at the house I was in, and he wanted to go fish out in the middle of it. So he took that thing out there, and that thing just started sinking right on down. So I bought it for its floating abilities, and turned out damn thing couldn't float. You know.
Hey, good thing you didn't get the 18-wheel one, because that one definitely doesn't float.
I bet you that one would have been a little bit nicer. I assume that thing would have stayed above the water, but we had to drag that out. That's currently sitting in the barn. Bad decision, hasn't moved. We got 2 ATVs, a dirt bike.
Golf simulator.
Golf simulator has
Personal favorite.
not been used though. That thing hasn't been used in a long time because
Mint condition.
So sorry to interrupt. If you're a man watching this, you deserve to have long, great. And you can do that now with our friends at Roman. Right now, you go to GetRoman.com. You get $10 off and free 2-day shipping on Roman swipes, which are guaranteed to make you have longer, more fulfilling every time you get in the sack. Now, let's get back to the fornicating action. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying, though, here. Like, I want to judge Connor rather hard for his moves, but I literally did it in a much dumber fashion.
Better.
But at some point, you will get to the point where you look at things, you're like, all right, I'm never going to use that. But granted, I'm not sure I'm there yet. There's some things that I should not buy that I still buy. For instance, that Bentley was the dumbest purchase of all time. I do a stand-up comedy tour. I get a check for it. It's massive. I'm like, oh, my God, I could buy a Bentley with this. And then that turns into, should buy a Bentley with this. So then the Bentley just sits in the driveway for, 4 years at this point. Mm-hmm. Now it's just a little driveway ornament. Just waste money. We'll never get my money back on it. Terrible purchase. That's the last dumb purchase I've made was that one.
Looks good, though.
Not really. Like, I kind of hate that it's there because it gets in the way of the Harley that I have, a couple of those. I mean, we can just go. I mean, there's a lot. This is what I'm talking about. So whenever you want to judge people, okay, and I can understand where the judge comes from. For people, it is incredibly difficult, especially if you don't have that discipline in you, which I do not, and it sure looks like that guy back there does not either.
No.
Look at that. It's going to be a fun ride to watch. And I'll be here every step of the way to tell you, all right, at some point you're going to get past these. And you're like, probably not. Unbelievable.
Until I get a tank.
So there are tanks for sale. I have looked into a potential tank to buy.